Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show today. I am joined by the best hair in crypto, Ryan Gorman. Well, I mean, NFT hair, because he's now I'm going to do it. Give it a little shout out to Badass. You have a Badass Bull NFT now. So congrats on that, by the way, Ryan.
Yeah, man, thanks. I got one. My wife got one. Took the plunge.
I saw a tweet earlier. It was one from Seinfeld, and it had Jason Alexander leaning up against a counter smoking a cigarette going, Jerry, what was the tweet? Oh, man, I lost it. It was like, Jerry, it's art. It's not collectibles.
I still don't quite understand the point of an NFT that isn't attached to like a sports ticket or a unique experience. Right? Anyone can just take my badass bull and they can just copy and paste it as their Twitter avatar. So I bought it because I believe it might appreciate in value in the future, and it's cool to have an NFT, I guess.
Registered owner.
What?
You're a registered owner.
I guess, but I mean, anyone can use it.
Well, that's a good point. This wasn't even supposed to be an NFT opening, but we're going to hit it anyway. If you have, you have a Picasso, right? And let's go to hedge fund manager Stevie Cohen. He owns a lot of ridiculously expensive fancy art. But yet then, you have people who go to, let's say, I don't know, TJ Maxx or Marshall's Home Goods, and they get the frames. They get the frames filled with a poster or print of one of Picasso's things, and they hang them up in their wall. Now, that's kind of taking your NFT and putting it as an avatar. But who really owns the original, right? Stevie Cohen. So he's going to make out on the original. He's a registered owner. He's going to make all the bucks on it. You just kind of copied and pasted that piece of work that's worthless and meaningless.
I mean, it's worth what I paid for it, right? So if I buy a Picasso print, I pay $50 for it. It's worth $50 to me, right? So I paid $47 for my NFT plus gas fees. It's worth $47. If someone wants to give me $100 or $2,000, it's worth that to them, and they can have it. I don't have the emotional investment in my NFT that I might have in a Picasso that I worked hard to obtain after wanting it for many years or something,
All right. Well, we'll see how this plays out, and good luck on your badass bulls.
You as well.
Thank you, sir. All right, we actually have really two parts of the market that we're going to cover today in the news, and it's full of actually really interesting stories. Ryan, hit us up. I know we got a big one to start off with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Alex. Walmart is now looking to hire a crypto and digital currency lead, and they made this job posting just weeks after Amazon posted a similar offering. So this is compelling for a number of reasons. One, the job description is looking for someone with 10 years of product-related experience. No one has 10 years of crypto product experience. That's not a thing. So I hope they're not looking for someone that has crypto-exclusive product experience, but also they're looking for someone to head up their blockchain initiatives and their digital currency investments, as well as cryptocurrency products. So there are three really compelling things there, right? So let's look at it from three separate angles, right? First, cryptocurrency products. What could Walmart be offering from that standpoint? And we can get into that in a second. But then you look at investment strategy. Walmart, the Walton family office, is one of the biggest in the country, if not the world. And for them to start investing in crypto, there's billions there that could be potentially invested in crypto that would make a massive difference in the value of the cryptocurrency market, especially if it's not only the Walton family office, but also Walmart itself and its corporate treasury, because they have a lot of money, right? They might not buy immediately as much as MicroStrategy did, but there's a lot of money there, right? And then blockchain. Walmart, if you're not familiar with some of their past forays into emerging technologies, forced the RFID standard on just about every product manufacturer because Walmart decided long ago to use it to track inventory on the floor and incoming shipments as a wireless, seamless way of tracking it. And they also forced barcodes, which are now ubiquitous around the world for scanning for prices. They forced the barcode standard on everyone back in the 70s. So if Walmart decides that one blockchain fits Walmart for a logistics and perhaps a payments standpoint more than other blockchains, that blockchain, regardless of which one it is, regardless of how big or small it is at the time Walmart makes that decision, that blockchain could potentially win the format battle, right? It's like DVD versus Blu-ray. Walmart could be the deciding factor there. And this could have massive implications for those people who not only created that blockchain and built it, but also the communities, the early investors in it, and those that picked the wrong horse would be exposed to the downside as well. Alex, what do you make of this?
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that it's coming after Amazon. It's almost like Amazon kind of validated an entrance into the market. And to your point, I think it's going to get a lot more complex than just what we're reading on these headlines, as far as the stuff that's not retail facing, as you've expressed, and that could or could not affect Bitcoin depending on the investments. If they decide to take a dive into that. Right now, they're just hiring somebody for this position. The one thing that is surprising, and I think they're going to face a little headwinds with, is that 10 years of experience.
Yeah.
So.
One thing, the digital strategy Walmart is looking to develop is the payment options for its customers. That, to me,
therein lies the thing that's most interesting about what you're talking about, right? Now, are they going to? There's some payment processing companies that are out there already. Now, are they going to thwart them and create their own as a behemoth, and then try to force that down everybody's throat, like the barcoding?
What if they just buy like a coin payments? I mean, Walmart had $555 billion in sales last year, according to this Business Insider article. How much is a coin payments? 20, 30, 40 million? I mean, that's a drop in the bucket for them. They could easily buy that, bolt it onto all of their POS systems, their point of sale systems, especially with NCR looking to expand into accepting crypto as well. And it would just be a seamless transition, and all of a sudden, people can pay for things at Walmart with crypto.
That is true. And then they could also have their own subsidy as a payment crypto process, because they could probably buy NCR and they could probably buy crypto payment processing company and just throw them together.
It would be like eBay with PayPal.
Exactly right. Nobody really cared when that happened.
No, and look at what the long-term ramifications were there. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. Next, we have a mortgage lender it's a Michigan bank called United Wholesale Mortgage. They announced that they're going to take Bitcoin payments for mortgages. This is huge, Alex, huge.
The reason this is huge is because this is where you're going to meld the traditional world with the crypto world, right? You know who's going to be all over this? And I saw some smoke out there in the Twitterverse and social media earlier about this story. Are people like Alex Mascioli over at Celsius,
yes,
or the folks over at BlockFi, right? These are the guys that want this to happen, because when this does happen, they're going to be able to set a precedence for doing it either themselves as a principal or be able to lend the money for that loan.
Absolutely. And if mortgage companies the size of United Wholesale, $59.2 billion in loan volume last quarter alone, according to this article in CoinDesk. If they start accepting crypto for payments, it's only a matter of time till they start accepting crypto as collateral. And then eventually, once you have a company this big, people are going to be able to take significant size mortgages out for homes completely out of crypto. Right? There are a lot of people that watch our videos that we talk to that are crypto rich and fiat poor, right? And being able to use some of those crypto riches and put them to work on buying real world assets is the use case that so many people have said crypto is lacking. Once it does that, that's truly when it goes mainstream. When you can pay for things at Walmart, pay for things on Amazon, and get a home, you can get a home and fill that home with things. That's when crypto becomes mainstream.
Because right now, really, all you can do is take small loans out, almost like personal loans out to maybe contribute towards a down payment for a house, but you can't actually finance the house directly with crypto. I think this could be a budding business, and it's also going to create mass adoption again.
Oh, absolutely. And as you were saying, Alex Mascioli and Celsius, they're in such a prime position to take advantage of this that it wouldn't surprise me to see them quickly become the largest crypto home lender.
Unbelievable. Now, explain to me this one.
Yeah, so last week we talked about how Ethereum and ETH are starting to gain market share on Bitcoin. And we're starting to see a sea change in how people view ETH, use ETH, and what entities are willing to invest in ETH, right? So now Singapore, a recent survey by that coming out of Singapore from Gemini and Seedly, Endcoin Market Cap, found that almost 4/5 of crypto investors, 78% in Singapore, they hold Ether. They hold ETH. Mm-hmm. Only 69% hold Bitcoin. So now, in one of the most crypto-friendly environments in the world, from a regulatory standpoint with MAS, and also just from an acceptance standpoint among a mass group of people, millions of people live in Singapore, 78% of those that hold crypto are holding ETH, and only 69% are holding Bitcoin. Notably, Cardano came in third. They're at 40%.
Wait, Cardano came in third?
Correct, 40%.
Why do you think Ethereum is over Bitcoin in the polls here?
For a lot of the same reasons that we've been discussing for a while. ETH just has more utility. You get exposure to a wider universe of assets that are underpinning the Ethereum ecosystem by buying ETH. It's an ETF for DeFi, an ETF for layer 3 protocols, layer 2 protocols, layer 1 protocols. So DeFi, DEXs, you name it, that you get exposure to all of them by holding ETH. And as the entire crypto ecosystem builds and more people are involved in it, ETH right now, unless Walmart decides otherwise, ETH is the token to hold. It's the crypto to hold because it gives you exposure to more than just Bitcoin, or more than just the Cardano protocol, or more than just one DeFi platform. You get exposure to all of it, especially NFTs as well, right? The more people that buy NFTs, the more ETH goes up in value.
That's where the congestion on the on Ethereum main is coming from. So just keeping with the the whole ETH and Ethereum tune here. Look who one of the greatest women in investing is doing. What's happening?
Yeah, Cathie Wood is a brilliant investor, going all the way back to her time at AllianceBernstein. But years and years ago, 5-6 years ago, she was calling Tesla the most undervalued stock in the market. And she stuck to it, and she held her ground, and she rode Tesla up. It was one of the most brilliant calls of our lifetimes. Brilliant investor. She was also the first asset manager to add Bitcoin through GBTC. Bitcoin into an ETF traded on an exchange like NASDAQ or NYSE. And it's in all of their ETFs now. So now what we're learning through SEC filings is that Cathie Wood is now adding Ethereum, ETH, to her ETFs. ARK bought a total of $21 million worth of ETH over the last quarter. So this feels like as seminal a moment for ETH as when she was buying Bitcoin 6 years ago and putting it into ARK, right? All of a sudden, that was the first publicly known institution getting into Bitcoin, and that was a while ago. Now, they're the first institution publicly known to be getting into ETH as well. So usually what Cathie Wood does, others follow. What do you make of this, Alex?
I think it's a huge bolster to Ethereum. I think, especially coming after, if you couple it with the news of the London fork and moving off of, moving towards a inflationary mechanism with Ethereum itself as a whole, you're creating that scarcity plus institutional interest, and it's much becoming almost like a Bitcoin scenario. As far as that's concerned, I think it's big. I mean, to your point, she is one of the brilliant investors of this, century. And listen, it may take a little time, but in the end, it's going to pay off big, I think.
I think it's also notable that All of ARK's crypto investments, be they Bitcoin or ETH, have been through Grayscale trusts.
Yeah, because that's the institutional trust system right there. I think that's going to change coming over the next year. You got a lot of different products and a lot of different other now very trusted institutional companies, whether it's NYDIG and others. And I think they're going to create these structured products to sit alongside Grayscale. So there'll be more of an option for, the ARKs of the world. Another really thing I'd like to point out is when she makes investments, she doesn't tend to load up. She tends to bulk buy. When she makes investments, whether she buys or sells, it's like she's doing a trip to Costco, right? She's just getting a 100-pound container of butter, and that's it. So her moves make a difference, and I think that's big.
But also, she is famously a very public advocate on behalf of a lot of the assets she buys. Do you remember that open letter to Elon Musk that she wrote, urging him, pleading with him to take a certain set of actions that he largely took that all of a sudden resulted in Tesla's share price going through the roof? So not only is Cathie Wood a shrewd investor, but she also takes an active role in advising the management of companies she invests in, even though that's not necessarily what traditionally an ETF manager does.
No, and there should be a name for it, like pleasant activist or something, because most people equate activist investors to being very combative, and she is not like that, and it kind of makes management teams want to work with her. And so I think it's a great compromise. And as you pointed out, the Elon Musk example is a great story. What about this money manager? We all know him, Mike Novogratz.
Oh, Mike Novogratz. Yes, Galaxy Digital. So Galaxy Digital has $1.5 billion in assets, 1.6 billion under management. They're one of the largest crypto asset managers currently in existence. And last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, Gary Gensler at the SEC made public comments that a lot of people and a lot of firms interpreted as being very friendly and optimistic towards a Bitcoin futures ETF. So of course, once those comments come out, him basically saying that he'd prefer that to a spot Bitcoin ETF because there are CME traded Bitcoin futures, it makes sense for firms to file applications for futures ETFs. So Galaxy is the latest one. You also have Invesco, which were the first one, VanEck, which were second, and then Valkyrie Investments, who, full disclosure, I work with, filing one as well. And Stephen McClure, Valkyrie's CIO, he's actually ex-Galaxy himself. So it's a small fraternity, but people and firms are looking to capitalize on the ETF boom that we're currently in, right? Already this year, last year set a record for inflows into ETFs. We've already surpassed that number this year. And there's huge demand for crypto. So it feels like whoever gets the Bitcoin futures ETF approved first, it's like a perfect storm. Funds are going to flood into it due to demand for Bitcoin exposure and because it's an ETF. So this is a 40 Act fund, which means it has all the tax advantage benefits of an ETF. And it's traded minute to minute, second to second it'll be on I think the CME, NASDAQ. So it can be bought and sold just like a stock, unlike a mutual fund, which is redeemed once a day. And it has a low cost basis. So
real quickly, tell the folks the difference between a Bitcoin ETF and a Bitcoin futures ETF and why it might get approved rather than the Bitcoin straight ETF.
So a Bitcoin spot ETF has to take pricing from the fragmented universe of trading venues where Bitcoin is traded. And even if you take it from the top 10 exchanges, of which there is some debate about that, but we can largely agree on most of them, right? There are concerns around market manipulation, like spoofing, wash trading, which is inflating the volume of order books to make it appear like an exchange has more volume, even if it doesn't. And the regulator is concerned about the accuracy of pricing and the veracity of data around it. Whereas a spot ETF, Bitcoin futures ETF, Bitcoin futures have already been approved to trade on the CME, which is the world's largest futures exchange, and they're based in Chicago. On the CME, you can buy futures in gold, wheat, anything, really. And adding Bitcoin to it made sense to the regulators from that standpoint, because you're speculating on the future price of Bitcoin versus trying to calculate its price on a minute-to-minute, second-to-second basis. So since we already have futures which are regulated by the CFTC here in the US available to pretty much anyone, it isn't too much of a leap to have an ETF which takes those futures, bundles them into a package, and sells them to investors on a broad basis. Because you're taking an already regulated product and just creating a new one on top of it. You're rewrapping it, basically.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. And that's what we have today, folks, for news. Big roundup. Keep an eye out for Walmart, because I think what Ryan's talking about is actually going to be big. It's going to be a long burn as well. So it's going to be a story that unfolds over a couple of different quarters here. Really interesting. We'll see if Novogratz gets that ETF approved. If he does, it's going to get the ball rolling for more approved and regulated structured products. And then, of course, we'll see about the mortgage, because that is probably one of the most fascinating news stories today right now, because it's also one of the quickest that can get adopted by decision makers. So who knows? Maybe there'll be Celsius Mortgage Company in the future.
Ooh.
Folks, don't forget to follow us at our Twitter handles on the screen right now to keep up to date. Also, don't forget to visit tradethechain.com. Everything's in the description below. And once again, thank you, folks, for watching us, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.